So yeah, but like I was saying before the show started, the main thing I don't understand about the pro-Israel, or I guess pro-Zionist, I don't even know. It depends on the person I'm talking to, like what claims they're even making or what they support or whatever. But the thing
Right.
that I don't hear, I guess, is like any acknowledgement of how the state of Israel was created and any responsibility they have on the current situation, which I kind of get. Like in the end, conquest is the only rule, really. But the thing is that I feel like what they don't take into account is that applies even today. You can basically just get away with whatever you want to get away with, and Israel could have
Right.
gotten away with taking over Palestine if they wanted to, maybe militarily, which they kind of did. But if you lose the propaganda war, or if you just like lose support, from people, I mean, you don't really have enough people or power to make up for that. You kind of you need public opinion to be on your side, kind of, for a lot of this stuff.
Right.
Like the $3.8 billion they get every year. Like they need Americans to be on board, or else they can't have that. So I guess like the thing I go back and forth with people on is it's like I just feel like you're getting angry at Palestine, but Israel has all the power. I mean, they're the only ones that can make any change. The only thing Palestinians can do really is become more and more um, radicalized, I guess, or at least that ideology to spread. Like, what else are they gonna do?
Yeah.
So that's my only thing.
No, I agree with you.
They'd have to tell me that first. Like, I don't even know what to like research as far as the other arguments go. Like, I tried watching the Douglas Murray versus Dave Smith debate. He didn't give me anything. So everything he said was just saying that Dave Smith was a retard and didn't know what he was talking about. He never clarified. So, yeah.
Oh, he was all over the place, man.
Yeah. I mean, he made some claims. The thing that pisses me off is people were saying that Dave Smith at one point, I think, said, or who was it? Michael Malice. I think when he was doing his little dissection, he was like, "Oh, Dave Smith, you're Kathy Newman. Is it Kathy Newman? How do you say it? You're doing a Kathy Newman," because he was saying, so what you're saying is this, Dave Smith did about the blockade and it not affecting the economy at all, and
Yeah.
Michael Malice jumped on that and he's like, "Oh, that's not what he said. You're doing the Kathy Newman thing." But no, actually, I went back and watched the clip. He said, "No, that's not true. It has no economic effect." He said something like that. I'll even find the clip.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
you know what I'm
You should
talking
find
about.
it. I know exactly what you're talking about, because that's, yeah. When you try to say, oh, that has no, you're countering Dave saying, hey, this has obviously an economic effect, and you're saying, no, it doesn't. Like, it's like when he went on the Piers Morgan show afterwards and was arguing with, who, do you remember that guy's name
I don't remember his name,
that
but
came on before Eric?
I know who you're talking about, but I don't know his name.
And just, he was arguing that they had intent, and they're just debating over the meaning of intent. And the guy says, no, there's no intent. You don't know how war works. And it's like, that's not the argument. We can agree on whether something's intentional or not, and then have an honest discussion. I feel like that was kind of the same thing. They could agree on whether or not this is going to have an economic effect, and if you can't even agree on that, it's an obvious logical conclusion. It's a fact. This is going to have an economic effect. Now we can say, okay, is it justified because they're trying to prevent bombs or anything coming into the country? That's a different conversation than, hey, are they even doing this, or is this even affecting Palestinians? Just frustrating, because then you can't have an honest conversation afterwards.
I think that's why the pearl clutching thing came in at that point too, because he kind of knew he had nothing to say. He kind of knew he trapped himself.
I would love to see Eric Weinstein and Dave debate.
I agree. Let me see where this is.
I could read you the quotes from Ehud Barak as well.
No, I know.
It's all of them have talked about it.
The situation.
Do you remember how far in it was? Is it like really far? Or is it kind of towards the beginning?
In the world because we make them so. And Russia invades Ukraine because of American policy.
His dreams, or it's because
his dream is, as he's said many times, is the reconstitution of the Soviet Union.
Handing out sandwiches to the
people when they say the odd thing that I agree with, or bad decisions.
to talk about it now.
Oh, here it
I've
is.
To use what boats came in early on and to use the smuggling networks from Egypt, not to bring in supplies. You could actually build a thriving society with
Always
our cellars and then Katusha rockets in our children's bedrooms. All of it could have been different. If that desire to stockpile rockets, it would all be different.
Yeah, or if
And
Israel
what
just
you
hadn't
describe
occupied
as-
them for 60 years, it would all be different too.
They
I mean,
weren't
why is it the onus
occupying-
always
they
on
weren't
them?
Well, you believe in self-determination, I'm sure. The right in Hamas made a very bad decision.
Yeah, of course,
and
Douglas.
in the
But
years after bad decision, it was a very bad decision. A decision to use what boats came in early on and to use the smuggling networks from Egypt, not to bring in supplies.
So this is what they do. They harp on. They find like one bad thing that Palestine did, and they just harp on it over and over and over again without any context. Why did they do that? Oh, no reason. They're just evil, like every time. And it's just they made a very bad decision. Very bad decision. I would not have made that decision over and over again. It's like, okay, bro, we get it.
Could actually build a thriving society with, but to bring in rockets. It was a very bad idea.
He said it again.
No,
eighth
there
time.
was not starvation in Gaza after 2005. No, there was no deficit of goods coming in. I've been
No deficit of goods. There he said it. He said no deficit
starvation
of
in
goods.
Gaza after 2005. No, there was no deficit of goods coming in. I've been plenty of
there was
times.
no deficit.
No,
He's been
there were
there.
No
He said there's no deficit, and he said no.
goods were
plenty of-
kept out.
There are plenty. How many? Have you been to the crossing points?
No.
This is the part where I think everyone who's honest knows, even the people on his side. I think I brought it up. It's like, why are you acting like you didn't know the answer to this question? I hate that.
Yeah.
That's such a bitch move to like ask a question you know the answer to and then act like this. It's such a fucking.
When
bitch
were you
move.
last there at all?
I've never been.
When have you been there last at all? Of course he knows you've never been.
You've never been.
And in this face, so punchable. God, I want to punch. Okay, I'm done watching. All right. The fact that
I
like
hate- I
half
hate
the
that
people,
so much.
the fact that so many people watched that and thought he did a great job. I don't believe they believe that, but it's insane.
Yeah, it's wild.
I'm sorry I didn't stream any of that to the people, but here you go. You can see it now. Anyways, it was this clip. You guys know the clip I'm talking about. Everybody's looked at this a million times.
What's the timestamp on that clip?
Let's see. It's around 142.44, somewhere around there.
Yeah, it's just frustrating when, I mean, I can't even believe that he's got that many people that respect him and that he's arguing honestly in that clip. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There's no way he doesn't know what he's doing. I was
Anyways,
listening to
Yeah.
Daryl Cooper's Fear and Loathing in the New Jerusalem, like I was telling you, and he basically, I'm only up to, like I told you, World War I just ended, right?
Mhm.
So it's right after that. But he basically talks, and this just to give you some context, so that now, so we can have a discussion on even playing field. Even, he basically talks about how like late 1800s, early 1900s, the Jews were getting basically just attacked everywhere across Europe, but especially in Russia. And so they started coming up with this idea these are the Zionists came up with the idea to, let's go start finding a home for the Jewish people. And they decided, let's buy land. They were just going to purchase land in what's today Israel, like around Jerusalem, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there were other Arab countries there. There are Arab people that already lived there, and they were just going to kind of intermingle with them and kind of keep to themselves at first. And then in World War I, the British recruited the Arabs that lived there to help them fight against the Ottoman Empire. And in exchange, they said, okay, well, once we're done, you will have this piece of land. It'll be yours, so you won't be subject to anybody. But at the same time, they basically made the same promise to the Jewish people. They said, "Hey, we're going to let you, have a piece of this land for yourself." And then they also said to France, "Hey, we're going to carve up this land." So they basically just made three competing promises for this land
Who is the
during
entity
World
that's
War
making
One.
these decisions again?
The British people,
British. Okay,
British government.
I knew it was the British people.
Um,
I knew it was their fault.
and so then after the war, they're like, well, of course we're going to honor our agreement with France because they're right next to us and um, much closer ally. So they split. I think they split the land. I could be wrong about that. But then they also were like, okay, we're also going to help the Jewish people because I think they had a few high level members of the British government that were Jewish and supported the Zionist movement and kind of had some influence there. And they said, okay, we're going to try to support the Jewish people, and basically just told the Arabs live there, hey, we're not really going to honor this, but we're still going to try to help you out. Everything's still it's going to be okay.
Mm.
And they're basically double talked this whole time. It felt like until it seemed like they also like supported the Jewish movement there because since they were supporting the Jewish people, then the Jewish people in that area, when they settled in land, that kind of by default became British land, if that makes sense. When they were trying to split up the land between the British and French sides,
Mm.
if that makes any sense. So then, while they were there were a large group of the Zionists. Like it was kind of outwardly they were saying, "Hey, we're just coming in here to buy some land and have a home," but inwardly they're like, "Yeah, and then we're gonna take over this place and kick out all the Arabs, and it'll be ours."
Right.
So that's about as far as I'm at now. Like some of that's starting to happen, and you can see as he's telling the story where there might be misunderstandings. There's things that aren't quite 100% clear. You kind of see the perspectives of both people, but also you can see, well, the Jewish people had this in mind the whole time, so it's kind of messed up how they're going about it. But at the same time, what are their alternatives? Like they're persecuted everywhere they go.
Yeah.
But it's also weird to me though, and I don't know whose fault it is. Is it if like right now I don't consider myself any historical, like I'm just an American, right? But it seems like the Jewish people everywhere they go, they're still Jewish people. So
Right.
what keeps them from, I don't know, not conforming, but being a part of the culture of the place that they're in? Is it other people saying, "Oh, you're Jewish, and we're going to treat you that way," or do they just not assimilate like other cultures do? Or
It's a
I
good
don't know. Do you have
question.
any thoughts on that?
I think that's the question. I don't know. I mean, what Fuentes and anybody else in that side will tell you is that they were kicked out of 109 countries for a reason. So that's like their answer. I
I don't
don't
know if I've
know.
heard that before.
You haven't? Oh, that's like one of their big things. But it's a good question. I don't know. That's the part of history I don't know. There's a lot of people that say like weren't don't they say like the Bolsheviks in Russia were um Jews as well, and whatever
Yeah,
they did was like kind of like a Jewish version of Holocaust or something. I don't know. That's
I
more
did.
history I
I
need
heard
to
that
go
for the
into.
first time today.
Really?
He said he brought it up and he's like, "I'm not saying this. I'm not trying to start this conspiracy." This is Daryl Cooper in one of his episodes. But then he was like, "But I am going to go into that later." So I'm excited to learn more about it.
I got to start at that podcast now. I will start it.
It's so long, man. But the first he baits you in. Like the first couple episodes are just like hour and a half, 2 hours, and then the last it's 6 episodes, so the last three are like over 5 hours each.
I wonder if there's anybody out there that Douglas Murray would consider like in the realm of expert that I could listen to. That's like a more objectively acknowledged as like knowing what they're talking about compared to Daryl
How
Cooper.
do you even become an expert?
I
Like
don't
I would
know.
not trust Douglas Murray's, I don't know, distinction of what makes an expert if he's saying, well, you have to go there. Because I would not, just from what I've listened to, hearing Dave or even just Daryl Cooper so far, like it makes way more sense because they're saying, hey, this is what happened. here are different ways to think about it. Here's how you kind of can see both sides. Like they're thinking out loud, and you can see the thought process. Versus, I've been there and I can tell you what's happening. It's like, well, I don't believe that when you were there, you saw what was really happening definitively. I mean, maybe you did. And then also, I don't know that I can just trust you telling me a fact, if that makes sense. Like
Hmm.
you're not explaining anything to me in a way that makes me think you're thinking critically about the situation. You're just telling me, well, I've been there and I saw that they weren't keeping goods from coming into the country. Like, okay, well that I feel like you've just been deceived. Most likely, it's more likely than the blockade not affecting the economy.
I don't think he's been even deceived. I think he's just lying because in this same bit of dialogue from this section of the like after he gets over his shock of Dave never been having been there before, Dave brings up
Yeah,
again that he reiterates again, which he was not doing a Kathy Newman because he accurately portrayed what Douglas Murray had said. He said it hasn't affected any of the goods coming and going. So,
yeah,
and then Douglas Murray contradicts himself and it says, "No, I didn't say that. I did say that it affected it some, just not
right.
the 40% you said or whatever," which is not what he said. So, I think
No,
he's
I agree with you
just
100%.
yeah, I think he's just a liar. I know, I'm sure. Yeah, I
Well, I
think
just
you're
even if you give him the benefit of the doubt, if you
right.
say accepting what you're saying is true, it still doesn't make sense. I would much rather have someone to me present to me facts and then say, and here's different ways to interpret them. Here's how I'm thinking about them. Here's how you could think about them. It's he's not telling me anything definitive, whereas Douglas Murray just, yep, this is what's happening, and I can tell you for a fact, and I just don't trust those versions of history.
Yeah. You know what our next step needs to be? We got to get a Zionist on here to debate with. That's what we
Oh
got to
man,
do.
that would be, yeah,
Because I feel like
that would be
I
fun.
can't learn as much unless I'm challenged by something. It's hard for me to just go out there and find random bits of information. I mean, it's good. I think the best thing you can do is get a historical overview of the area and like a background. I think that's just like base level, and I think I need to do that too. And you've done that now. I think that qualifies you to at least be have an informed opinion on the situation. Because everything I'm doing is
Yeah,
mostly just reacting to headlines and stuff. So I think I need to get that baseline historical thing that you're getting now, and then after that, I kind of just want people to tell me why I'm wrong. Just explain to me. Well, see, I don't even know what I'm arguing for. Half the time, I don't even. I think I'm just arguing against their crazy takes, like some of their crazier takes
right.
that it's necessary to kill all these children and stuff. I just feel like it's all reactionary because I'm just listening to their crazy stuff. I mean, and at the end of the day, Hamas is not good, right? Probably, but it's like the whole question is like how to deal with it. I think the disagreement is just like how Israel's dealing with it. I think the other big
The
disagreement is us giving them money. I think at the end of the day, you'll never convince me that our money should be going there. That's just there's nothing they could say,
right.
which sounds
So you
close-minded,
tackled
but
three different arguments, I think, perfectly, or three different. You got to put the argument into three different buckets, and I feel like if you argue against someone who's not being honest, you'll speak about one, and then they'll use that as and attack you from another. So like if you say, "Oh, I don't think we should be giving them money." Well, I don't think we should be giving anybody money. But then now you're anti-Semitic, and or you just don't think that the Jews should have a home, whether you're anti-Semitic or not. You don't think that they should have their own state, not a home. But
hmm
it's like, well, that's a different argument over here. Then you have the argument of, is this the right way for them to be going about the war currently? And then you have the argument about, okay, well, should we even be involved in any way?
yeah, I think that you broke it down well.
And the first one, I mean, to me, the I say the first one like I gave you the order that I was thinking of them in. I think you and I could probably be on the same page of, hey, this is not how they should be conducting the war. I think we would probably be on the same page there. I think we would definitely be on the same page about should we fund them. So I think the interesting discussion to me is like, and something I'm not familiar enough with, but just if the Jewish people don't have a home, number one is what they did wrong by going in and trying to basically recapture what could have been a home for those people a couple thousand years ago. And I think it would have been probably wrong for them to do that if they didn't have an alternative because they're being persecuted everywhere.
Mm.
So then it's like, okay, well, from that perspective, yeah, they should go try to find a home that they can claim for their own. And then you have to look through that lens about everything that they did. But then I I keep thinking, well, they had all this support, especially from United Kingdom. I don't even know when it started being the United Kingdom, so I got to get my terms straight for that area. But if they had all that support, was there not a way they could have just moved and created their own home within that area or within the United States?
Yeah, or the United Kingdom.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I meant. Yeah, United Kingdom or United States. Because I don't feel like there's. I mean, people will argue with me, and Twitter probably isn't a, or X probably would prove me wrong, but I just don't feel like there's ever been that Semitic or anti-Semitism here to the extent that you would have like in Russia during this period.
Was Russia heavily anti-Semitic at that period? That's the part I don't know as
Uh,
much about.
yeah, man. I've only heard bits and pieces, and then I listened to the podcast and elaborated, but um, they had these things called pogroms. I don't know if I'm saying it right. Pogrom. I thought they were talking about pilgrims at first. I was like, this is confusing. Um, and it's an organized massacre of a particular ethnic group, in particular that of Jewish people in Russia or Eastern Europe, like Ukraine, I think was a big one.
Okay,
Yeah, they would just massacre people.
so not fans at all.
No, that was, I mean, but it wasn't clear to me. Was that everywhere? Because if you had an alternative, then you definitely should have probably tried to find that alternative instead of planning to overthrow a whole area.
Okay, I looked up two things. This is what I was curious about because I'd heard of the Bolsheviks, and
You
it
know,
says they became the Communist Party of the Soviet Union. And I asked it, were they mostly a Jewish movement? And it says no. It's inaccurate to say that most Bolsheviks were Jewish, although
I think you settled it.
a significant number of prominent Bolshevik leaders were indeed Jewish, though, including figures like Leon Trotsky. So, but this was not the case for the majority of party membership. But I don't think they would argue that because they're a minority. I think the conspiracy comes from the fact that they lead these things usually, and I bet the leadership
Right.
is largely. Let's see.
You're just gonna see who the leaders were.
Yeah. Google doesn't want to make it easy. Okay, I don't know what I was looking for here. I thought these names would be more obviously Jewish. I think.
Well, ask it. Which one of these are Jewish?
Okay, yeah, good question. If
You're
it'll
gonna
answer
figure
me,
this out. Oh, does it? Does it filter that?
it might.
That's crazy. I do get surprised sometimes. That's wild. This is way more overwhelming than I. Oh, okay. Never mind. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I thought up top didn't it organize them by like here's the leaders and then these guys were also involved?
Top leadership, other prominent.
Okay, I thought it was going through that in that same way, and I was like, man, all the top leadership was Jewish.
That would be funny. It's still pretty lopsided considering. Let's see, what percentage? See, none of this stuff matters though because the whole argument, and I don't really have any opinion on it. I mean, other than it's true. It's both weird that there's so many Jews at the heads of all these things, at these big institutions, like
Yeah.
these big important things. But it's
Right.
also it makes sense if they're just better at this kind of thing. I mean, they're obviously better at like taking care of each other as a community, and they're good on like
Well,
education and all kinds of metrics. So it kind of makes sense.
it's also, I wonder how much of it is because, like, a Christian can mean someone of Christian faith, but it doesn't necessarily mean like a Christian ethnicity, if that makes sense. So I guess what I'm getting at is, to me, Jewish people, if they left their homeland, they didn't just assimilate. Now they're Russians, so now they still maintain, hey, they're Jewish Russians. So now they're just going to be more prominent, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
So they're going to show up places. Whereas, well, what else would you expect them to be? It's almost like Jewish or not Jewish. I don't know what the other options would be.
Here's the funny thing: 1.5 to 2% of the population was Jewish, and yet it's always something
That is
like
funny.
this when you look at the heads of things.
Yep.
It's like half. They make
Man,
up like 50% of it, and Leon Trotsky was a big part of it.
you really destroyed my argument there.
It's just funny to look at. I don't know if these numbers mean anything.
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything except that, probably could look into it a little more.
It does. Yeah, it doesn't mean they have like. I mean, there could be just as many Jews. I mean, I think people argue a lot of times that there are just as many Jews on the other sides of the heads of things. So it's like it's not like they have one dominant um, faction anyway. It seems like for the most part they're all on the same pro-Jewishness side of things when it comes down to it. That's like the main thing they have in common. But that makes sense. Anyways,
That poor Jewish guy named Adolf.
was he Jewish?
Yeah,
No, he wasn't.
he's like the last one in the Jewish section. Yeah, scroll up right there. Go up a little more. The last Jewish guy.
Oh, this guy. Oh yeah, he's probably the last Jewish guy with that name.
Yeah, last anyone with that name really. How wild would it be if you knew someone named Adolf?
Yeah, it's not a terrible name.
I don't like it at all, but I do like the name, man. Sorry to get us canceled on the first episode, but
No, go for it.
I think the name and the symbol of Nazis, I think that sounds cool, and I think the symbol looks cool, and I think you just can't use any of it now.
Well, Bleach has proven that wrong.
Oh, did they?
As long as you're Asian. Well, yeah, like the handguard for Ichigo's sword is swastika, I think, or it might be a
I'm
reverse.
looking at it
It
now.
might be a reverse swastika.
Oh man, that is. See, I just think that symbol looks cool.
It is a cool symbol. I think it showed up in a
That
lot
is
of different
wild.
cultures, so I think
Yeah,
it's just one of those things. If it wasn't such a bad symbol, people would be drawing it on desks and stuff. Well, I guess they already do that anyways.
yeah,
It'd be like that little dollar sign thing that everybody used to draw. But anyways, I feel like
Oh, yeah.
until I have a specific thing to like argue against or something, I don't really have too much left for the Jewish thing. I feel like it'd be more interesting, and I would get less bored of the topic. I think if I had something interesting to bounce off of or to argue against
Yeah.
or something like that. But I feel like the main thing I can do now is just to educate myself so I'm not a complete dipshit when people ask me questions and I don't give out false information. I don't want anybody to take anything I say seriously because I don't know enough. This is just like something I kind of wanted to call the podcast
Yeah.
is just like two retards learning because that's like all I don't know not that exact title. I mean it could be, but something like that. That's all I really want to do is just get better at defending my opinions.
Yeah, I think that what even made me start asking those questions is just are talking about it even more is when you said have someone on to debate. I'm like, man, I don't even feel qualified to debate. It would just be educational for me to learn what they think should be happening, you know?
Yeah, or just talk. Exactly. Just
Exactly.
talk,
Or
figure
what's
out
the
what they believe.
perspective
But I don't know
and find
anybody
out
like
what
that.
doesn't make sense.
I don't even know anybody.
We should just find one. Find a guy who's
Yeah, we could find
what do you
somebody.
call someone who's like a Zionist? Zionist?
Yeah, Zionist. I'm sure there are people out there just itching to talk about it.
I wish there was a way to, I want to get somebody who's, I don't know, who would come on the show.
Gotta find like a friend or something, or maybe somebody online who'd be willing to talk about it.
Yeah, that's all I meant. Yeah, I don't know anybody who. Man, I'm so bad at even noticing, but I don't think I know any Jews.
I think one of our friends, you probably do, I probably do, but you're right. I can't think of any off the top of my head. But I feel like one of our friends was. I don't want to put words in his mouth, so I'm not even gonna mention his name. But I feel like when we first started talking about it, I think he was pro-Israel, or at least leaning that side. And when I say pro-Israel, I just mean like pro-Israel defending itself in the way that it does. I just mean pro like whatever decisions they've been making in the last couple of years or whatever. But I don't know. I've been kind of dropping bait for him to like argue with me about it, but he seems like to never pick it up. So I feel like he's starting to agree with us. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to. I would really have to struggle to understand how anybody could support what they're doing, what they're doing because of the position of power that they're in. If that makes sense. Like just leveling the place. I don't know.
I don't think they look at it like we do. I think they look at it like we don't owe them anything and they attacked us.
Yeah.
Like everything's in kind of a vacuum. It's like the last thing that happened is the beginning of history. That's how I feel like at least that's
Right.
how I feel like they argue. So, since they attacked them on October 7th last, that's like the beginning of the most recent war. They started it. Nothing before that
Mhm.
mattered.
You're right.
And these people are all evil Hamas supporters, so even civilians
It's
are
like
like, yeah,
the Ron Paul moment with Rudy Giuliani. Like they attack us because we're over there.
right.
It's the same thing. It's like, man, if you didn't oppress them and take over their territory, then they probably wouldn't be attacking you. But then it's so complicated to just say, well, we're just going to give them what they want and that'll stop the attacks. It might not because I don't know. It is tough.
Yeah, and it probably wouldn't. There would probably be a lot of terrorism still. It'd be a
I'm
pretty
going to keep
painful reunification.
yeah.
Not even unification. I mean, whatever. Reconciliation, maybe.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm going to keep listening to that and I'll let you know if it gets juicy next week.
All right. Well, hopefully I'll have started it by then. I've been running out of
Oh yeah, you
things.
probably binge it way faster than me.
Yeah, well, maybe. I listen to things like as I'm going to sleep, and it's always something like that I'll listen to. I've been kind of running out of stuff, so I might start that up. But yeah.
I've been watching Invincible as I go to sleep.
See, I can't watch something like that
And
because then I'll just miss it and I'll have to rewatch the whole episode.
it puts me straight to sleep. And I think it's on Prime. And I think Amazon is watching me while I watch it. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I think they are using the camera to see how I react. Because I'll fall asleep and it'll play the whole episode. But when I go back to watch it again, there's no ads up until right around the time that I fell asleep.
That's weird.
And that's when the ads start. I can just skip to right before the ads every time. And it's kind of creepy. And it's frustrating that there's long, unskippable ads in a service that I'm paying for, but
Do you go to sleep
and the
with
show's
your
not that
smartwatch
good.
on?
Yeah, usually.
It's probably reading your.
Is it hacking into that?
No, it's probably like reading your sleep cycle or something and figures out. Oh, you fell asleep at this time.
Yeah.
Anyways. Anything else? I know we had a couple other things for today. The carnivore and abortion question.
Well, yeah, I'll tell you about the carnivore thing real quick,
Go for
and
it.
then or just why I'm trying it, and then I would love to watch that Rogan abortion clip and just have a brief discussion on it, see if we're on the same page.
Okay.
Um, so basically, I've done keto before, and I've told you a number of times how much I felt like that really it made me feel great, and I lost a bunch of weight. Obviously the water weight at the beginning, but then I felt great and I kept staying on it, and I made weight to join the Air Force. And then I got off of it and it was hard to get back on. Um, so I always wanted to get back into that. And then I also realized, or my brother's been looking into carnivore, and I joke with him a lot because my diet is just like meat and then junk food. I don't eat vegetables. I sometimes will eat fruit. And so it was weird to me to be like, no, I don't want to do carnivore. That seems too restrictive. Like, where am I going to get my nutrition from? But I'm not getting it from like the probably 30 packs of Nerds gummies that I ate over the past couple weeks. So
Mm.
it's like, why am I really concerned about this? So I finally decided to start it from that perspective. And then I also like to joke with my mom because I think she's practically a vegan, or she would like to be. Just because I think she enjoys that stuff and she feels like it's healthy and nutritious, and you get everything you need from vegetables.
Mm.
And her argument is always like, "Oh, well, God put all this food here for you." I'm like, God put a lot of poisonous stuff here, if that's your argument, number one. And He put these animals here, and they're delicious,
And he
and they
probably
eat each
didn't
other.
really put any of that food in there anyways. It's all like man-made monstrosities like watermelons and bananas anyways.
Dude, exactly. So then I started listening to carnivores who, like doctors and stuff, who would make that exact point. It's like, if if we evolved, of course, then I shared this with my mom, and she wants to have an evolution debate. But if we evolved or whatever, it doesn't matter. If God put all these vegetables here and we weren't eating them, we were never eating the ones that we're eating now. Because like you said, they're all basically man-made, genetically modified or whatever, to be way better.
Mm.
And then he had the like audacity to say how great we have made Brussels sprouts. And I'm just like, man, I can't imagine a bad Brussels sprout because those things are disgusting
Mm.
right now. But they talk about all the ways that the vegetables that you would eat try to attack you. It's like their self defense, and they say, well, an animal, their self defense is they'll just run away. But a vegetable is not running away. Their self defense is, um, like they basically poison you. And one example he gives, he's like, all the pesticides that are in vegetables that are bad for you, like 99% of those, and I have not fact checked any of this, by the way. These are just really convincing arguments to support the food that I already want to eat anyway.
Sure.
But they said 99% of the pesticides in the plants are like naturally occurring pesticides that they use to avoid being eaten. So that's kind of the basis for it. And then from the nutrition aspect, I was listening to a couple of them who were doing it, and all of these are doctors. I don't know if that doesn't really matter to me too much, but it's like, other than to say, when someone's trying to call me out on it, I'm like, well, what makes your doctor better than my doctor? Or your doctor that you're listening to.
Mm-hmm.
But they will argue that you can get most of the nutrients that you need from red meat. So that's like especially if you eat like the other parts of it's not necessary, but like if you eat the less common parts like the liver or whatever, which I don't plan on doing. But then as long as you're feeling okay, that you could, you don't really need supplements, have some variety, maybe some like some fish or some chicken here and there. I don't
Right.
know. At this point, I'm just rambling. Do you have any questions about it, or did any of that make sense?
I think everything you said makes sense. I think one of the arguments people might make against the doctor thing is they'll always say, well, you can find like two or three doctors that'll say anything. I have a million doctors who will say that you should eat a
Yeah.
balanced diet or whatever. So, not that
No, I agree with
not
that
that that means
100%.
anything. That's just like a counter. So,
All it is to me is just a counter to the counter. So if you say, "Oh, well, all the doctors are saying this," it's like, okay, well, not these doctors that I'm listening to on this. That's the only reason that it ever even matters, or I would never even bring it up.
Yeah, I feel that.
If it's like, oh, all the doctors agreed that this is bad for you, but these two comedian podcasters, were saying this, I'd still probably listen to them instead. But if they made good points,
I
but
like
it's
the
not.
idea
I'm
of
not
it.
even convinced that they are bad for you. Vegetables are bad for you, or anything else. It's just I already wasn't eating them. But they did say one thing, and I'm sorry I cut you off, but one thing that I did hear that kind of made sense to me was that if you're eating a lot of like red meat or fatty meats, people are always tell you how bad all that fat is for you, but they mention how it still will be bad for you if you're also eating sugar, because somehow when you consume things that have sugar and you're consuming the fatty foods, that's what makes it bad for you. Somehow I'm going to look that up right now so I can explain it better. But sorry, what were you saying?
I can't even remember. It wasn't that big of a deal though. Once you finish this, I'll bring up what I was gonna bring up earlier.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, it'll interrupt your thought because it's kind of long.
My thought is done, man. I'm not even going to get to this. But I might,
Oh, the sugar and vegetable thing combo.
yeah, it might take me a minute. I might not even find it. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. Once you pull it up, just let me know. No big deal. But so I asked GPT about pros and cons of it. So I just kind of wanted to go over those real quick, and that may be all the questions I really have on it until I think about it more in the future. But for pros, I think we could probably just go run by these quickly because you're not going to probably argue with any of them. One of them is the
Yeah.
simplicity of it. You don't
Yep.
have to track anything. No portions. I guess you'd still have portions though. It'd be whatever you think you can eat, but not
Well,
nothing like you don't have to sit there and count or anything. I guess calories.
yeah. I mean, mainly because it's going to be hard to overeat because you're so full. Like I made
Hmm.
bacon and sausage last night or 2 nights ago. I was like, okay, well, this is how much I might have for breakfast, and I made a little bit more because like this is all I'm having. And I was so full because I had eaten like some beef earlier in that day. I couldn't finish it, man. I ate
Can
like
you
half
have
of it.
so you can have sausage? Can it just be? Does it have to be like non-seasoned sausage?
Man, so I'm trying to be a little more strict, but then um, I don't know. I really like sausage, and I was like, it's gonna be so minimal.
Right.
What's the danger of eating a little bit of
I don't
sausage?
understand really how
So,
bad like some black pepper or whatever. Like what?
right.
I don't know what that is, but I feel like everyone says it has like 0 calorie. I mean, what is it even adding, or what would it fuck up? So yeah, maybe. But
No,
maybe it could mess up
I
your
agree.
like your gut biome or something if that's something important to carnivore. Like I don't know all the science behind
Yeah,
it, so I'm sure there's. I mean, it's all chemistry. There's something there. But anyways.
yeah.
But anyway,
I'm not
so
gonna have it
yeah.
like every day, but I'm not gonna avoid. On the weekends, we usually have the kids call it fun breakfast. We'll make bacon and eggs and sausage and
On
maybe some
carnivore, do you
oatmeal or
still eat
pancakes or
eggs? Because
something.
that's technically like an animal.
Yeah, but I don't know if I think I told you this. Eggs used to be like a staple food for me, especially when I was doing keto.
Right, but the
But
allergy thing.
um, yeah, I was doing this allergy diet, and the eggs were the first thing I introduced. I was like, man, this is gonna make it so much easier. And it turns out I've just been allergic to eggs this whole time.
Damn. Okay.
But
But
I especially felt it after I cut them out and then added them back.
if you could, you would. Like that would be kosher with the diet.
That's allowed. Anything that comes from animals is fine.
Milk even?
Yeah.
Oh shit. Okay. Damn. Okay, you're
So you could
pulling
like have
me.
cheese.
I could have cheese. Okay. Damn, you're pulling me in. But
Yeah.
sugar's the big one. I don't know. I think it's worth a try. But anyway, let's go through these pros. I'll try not to
Yeah, yeah,
stop
yeah.
so much. Simplicity, satiety, which is basically just saying it's super filling, I guess.
Which yeah goes to simplicity too. But yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that's kind of how the GPT thought process is. It doesn't categorize everything perfectly, but it's similar. But yeah,
Yep.
eliminates
Yep.
junk food. Makes sense. Blood sugar stability, so you wouldn't have like spikes and crashes like you would with carbs. That makes
Mm-hmm.
sense. Autoimmune and inflammation relief. They don't say the science behind it, but they just say a lot of people claim that they get that kind of relief when they are on this diet. I'm guessing that
The
autoimmune stuff and inflammation
autoimmune and
comes from.
inflammation.
Yeah, I'm sure like carbs can cause a lot of that.
Yeah, I think a lot of that. I think a lot of this is similar to keto. I think you get a lot of that same. You're getting rid of the carbs, which retain water, and all the sugar and processed foods. I think are inflammatory.
Hmm.
I don't know where vegetable. To me, the difference between keto and carnivore is like the vegetables.
Mhm.
So
Right. Okay. The last one is testosterone and mood. Um,
yeah,
I don't know if you've gotten far enough to fill any of that yet, but it basically just says that. One second, my phone turned on. I don't know if you've noticed any of that changing in you so far, or does that take a little bit longer to get?
no, and I mean, I don't think I slept well this week, and I don't think it was related to this. I think it was just other stuff, like every single day, at least at the beginning of the week. Like we went to the early church service, then I play ball in the mornings, and then so by Wednesday or Thursday, dude, I was so tired, and I didn't have the carbs to like give me that energy. So then I was drinking. I was trying to cut back on the energy drinks, and I was drinking more, which I probably shouldn't be drinking them at all on this. So I think I need to tweak a little bit because I'm not getting the. Like I said, when I was on keto, I just felt great, but right now I'm not getting that energy boost that I had when I was on keto.
Is it pretty expensive to eat every day on carnivore?
Not for me because I had a cow in my fridge or my freezer already that we
Right.
weren't eating fast enough. So I was like, man, I'm eating a lot of this, which is great. I also think I'm going to be eating less, so it's got to be. I mean, there's no way I'm spending more money eating now than I was eating all the junk, eating out, snacking all the time.
I just imagine a lot of steak on carnivore, and I know steak's expensive, so. But I mean, eating out's
Yeah,
also
man, but
expensive.
imagine though let me see how many ribeyes we get just roughly. Um, this is not the what I wanted. There we go. Beef breakdown. What cuts are included? 20% of a half beef is going to be steaks. So I don't know. I mean, it's not just ribeyes, but we made some of the other ones first. So I don't know how much of that is going to be ribeyes, but I mean, that's a lot. And you can still have like ground beef. You could just have burgers. You just no bread. I love a good burger with just some salt on it.
Mhm.
I love roasts. So I don't know, man. I feel like you can get between ground beef, roasts, and steaks every day, and then just have like some salmon every once in a while. I don't know how you feel about salmon, but I don't love it, but I like it enough to have once or twice a week, and then some chicken. I think I'm good.
Yeah, that's not too bad. I'd have to look into the logistics of it to see if I'd be able to do it. Just because
I just don't eat
a lot of meal
breakfast
prepping stuff I would
usually.
do would include like slow cooking something with
Exactly.
spices and stuff, and I don't know like what would be allowed. And I like to have like carrots and potatoes in my stews, so I definitely can't do that. But
Yeah.
I'd have to like figure out what you're allowed to have in there. I'm assuming you could probably have like broth because that's still like animal.
Yep.
Can
You can
comes
have
from
broth.
animals.
I
But
think it's encouraged to have
I,
that stuff.
I hate when broth's not like salty though. I can't have the salt free one. It just doesn't taste like anything to me when it doesn't have salt in
Yeah.
it.
Why would you even never do that to somebody?
I know it's terrible, but I tried that one
Salt
time.
is 100% allowed.
Okay, hell yeah, that's the main thing. But
So yeah, you do. I mean, and I don't. I feel like if your objection to doing this is you couldn't season your meats, I would say just season them, man. It's not like what's a little bit of seasoning gonna do versus all the benefits you're gonna get. I don't think it's gonna be like, well, you were gonna be the epitome of perfect health, but you seasoned your food and now you're about to die.
it'd be somewhere between like keto and carnivore, I guess.
Yeah, like carrots are kind of borderline keto. You can't have too many carrots because I think they're high in carbs for a vegetable.
Yeah, I wouldn't put
And
carrots in
potatoes
there if I was
obviously would be
trying it.
out.
Yeah, potatoes definitely out.
But like Adrian makes the stews with, she seasons them and puts like a steak. I'm just gonna eat the steak probably.
Yeah.
I might share, and it doesn't need that much. But like a stew, Adrian's gonna make it for everybody, and she'll season. I'm not gonna be that strict.
All right, the cons. These are the big ones. Micronutrient gaps. So you can technically get most essentials from organ meats, but if you're just eating steak, you could be lacking fiber, vitamin C, magnesium, etc. Have you got farther enough in to face any of those issues, or not yet?
Well, I think there's a debate about how important fiber is.
All right.
Um, I don't even really know what it does. It's not clear to me. Like half the times they don't even include it
Well, like the basic argument
in
is that it
your.
helps you stay regular, right? Is that not true?
Um, I don't know, man. It's not been my experience, but
And plus,
yeah,
with those
I
things,
don't really know about fiber.
you could probably. I mean, I know people say it's not as good, but maybe taking some kind of a supplement or something if you need to.
Yeah, you could. I'm trying not to just to see how I feel. Honestly, I'm not feeling as good as I thought I would, as I told you.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna give it, try to wean off the energy drinks a little bit and give it another week or so. Because I know on keto, it usually takes me, 3 or 4 days before I get into it. And I don't feel great during that.
Right.
But like you could get um I don't know. I feel like you can get vitamin C in a decent amount from, like, if you're doing, does red meat have it in? I don't know. I looked into this and then I wasn't sure. I'm gonna pull up my own chat where I had this conversation. He convinced me. Can you search your chat?
I think so.
You can. Yeah, vitamin C. It says you could get some from like the organs or something, like organ meats.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I like that one of the guys I was listening to. His name's Sean Baker, and he was a keto guy, I think, before he went carnivore. And I feel like, you tell me what you think, but I get my blood done regularly. I say regularly, it's at least once a year, if not more, for just checkups and other things. And then I feel like as long as all of my markers come back okay, how important are these things? Does that make any sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like, is it, oh, every other part of my markers are better because I'm losing fat, I'm not eating as much junk and all the sugar. How devastating is low vitamin C and magnesium going to be? I don't know.
Yeah. Some of the other issues they had, I think all that makes sense. What you're saying. Some of the other things is digestive issues. I don't know if you ran into that in the beginning, but it says things like constipation,
Man,
diarrhea. You don't
I
have
don't
to
want
get
to
into the
go into too
details.
many details,
You don't have
but
to.
I mean, I'll go into, not for not to protect me, just for you guys, but I don't feel like I started without the digestive issues, so it couldn't have gotten worse. And I think when I'm not, I think again it just comes down to the energy drink that I was doing. I think that made it worse because I upped that intake and I gotta dial it back. But when I have tried it in the past, because I've done carnivore, for a couple days at a time, or at least keto, and it gets way better. I feel way more regular.
That's fair. The other ones were social limitations, but to me that's nothing. I mean,
That doesn't even make sense.
You have to
When
do.
am I going to the barbecue and not just eating meat? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna have some chips with this. I'm eating all the meat at the barbecue
Well, people put
every time.
I know some of the barbecues I go to, people will put barbecue sauce on things first, like before they put it on the barbecue and stuff. You just have to tell them not to do that.
Well, I mean, in that situation, I'm just probably gonna eat it. The limiting factor for me right now is just that I'm on that allergy thing at the same time, and a lot of people put like teriyaki sauce or what's that W sauce that I can't say? Worcestershire.
Worcestershire, yeah.
Yeah, Worcestershire, whatever that has soy in it. I can't have that.
So you're just
So
not
if they
that
if they
crazy
just like sneak
strict.
some of those,
Like if something comes up, you
I'm
just
not.
kind of go with the flow and then get back to it the next day or whatever, or the
I
next
mean, I'm
meal.
a week into it. If I don't start feeling great, I might just back off of it, or if I notice, hey, I'm feeling great unless I, have barbecue sauce every once in a while, then maybe I'll be a little more strict. But I can't imagine, it's like right now, if I'm trying to lose weight, but I go to a cookout or something, I might, have a cookie or some chips or something. I wouldn't do that probably on carnivore, but I might have some barbecue sauce.
Fair. I think the rest of these are kind of things that are obvious, like long-term unknowns. I mean, that's the same with a lot of stuff we're eating today, anyways, probably. And then
Yeah.
adherence and fatigue. I mean, that's just obvious too. So
I don't know what that first part was. What are they talking about? Where are these people who can't eat a ribeye every day?
yeah. Well, I mean, even I get tired of things. I guess I'd have to see. I've never had enough steak to like know that I would get tired of it. That's never happened to me my whole life. So
I'm I'm joking, but I think a ribeye is my favorite food, and
yeah.
I'm already out. I have one ribeye left.
Well, anyways, either way, there's also practical solutions to each of these too. So I mean, that's what I asked it specifically, but
You know,
we can go into all these too. If I was doing more research, I'd read more into everything. But I was just kind of curious if there was actually ways of getting around these things.
I'll just say two things. I already kind of said this, but one, I'm not opposed to like supplements and stuff, but I want to see how I feel without them first. Um, but to me, I was getting real into this, and then I just realized, wait a second, why am I? This is going to definitively be better than how I'm eating now. So let me just try it. Worst case is I start adding some vegetables, and I'm way better. I'm eating whole foods instead of all the junk.
I agree with that. I think the thing that this thing might be talking about is more so like a fucking Doctor House episode where someone finds out, oh, there's this thing your crazy wacky diet has caused you to not have this one thing that everybody typically gets, so we don't even have to really talk about it. But because you haven't been getting
Yeah,
that one thing, you're now like on. We have like the best minds in the medical world trying to figure out why you're dying or something. So something
yeah,
just something silly like that, or eating too much of something, like getting like what is it called, mercury poisoning from eating too much fish or something, whatever they are. So I don't know, just little things like that you
yeah.
have to pay attention to. But mostly for this discussion, I kind of just wanted to know a little bit of background. I feel like I know a lot more now than I did before going into it. So
Right. Well, and I can't eat that much, man. I might have like one ribeye and then like some salmon and some bacon in a day, which I don't know. It's not that much compared to what I would basically be having that much protein, but it might be more chicken, which I feel like is less nutritious than a red meat.
hmm
But also, I would be having a ton of junk.
yeah, the junk thing's really tough because back in the day, I feel like if you had a sweet tooth, you'd just have like a fruit or something, like an apple. But now that we've tasted the forbidden sugars, like processed candy and all this stuff, it's like it's hard to
Yeah.
it's hard to go back at this point. You're super blurred out on your screen. I'm not sure why it's not focused on you.
Oh man, I think I'm having I don't know if let me try this.
Oh, maybe it froze because I can't see you moving.
I think I'm having a bad connection. Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay.
I don't know if it's on my end or not. Let me try to reconnect. Would that mess up your stream organization?
No, go for it.
you don't
Look good.
That better?
Yep.
Discord's not detecting my mic. It's so bad at that.
It's not detecting it, but I can hear you at least.
Yeah, it always tells me that, even though I'm green.
All right, let's watch
All right,
this Joe Rogan abortion thing. This will be interesting.
Well, I'm going to bring back real quick just
Oh yeah.
to close the loop on this. This guy, this is Reddit, so you can take it as fact. He says high-fat diets result in higher levels of cholesterol in your blood, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But when you also have high carbs, then the cholesterol becomes damaging because it can't be reabsorbed by the liver, because it says the liver's LDL receptors fail to recognize the LDL particles that are damaged by circulating glucose. And then there's a video, if you have any interest, I can share it with you, but I'm probably not going to understand it.
I don't even understand barely what you just said.
Well, there's cholesterol, and I think there's LDL and maybe HDL, I forget, but I think people will argue back and forth about whether or not higher levels of cholesterol, especially the LDL, are bad for you. But I think a lot of people on keto and carnivore will say that cholesterol is actually good for you. But then what it sounded like he was saying is that when you have all the sugar, it basically damages the cholesterol, and then it can't be absorbed by the liver, and that's when it becomes bad for you.
Okay.
So, yeah, don't even have to watch the video now. I explained it perfectly.
Excellent. I feel so enlightened. I've been
All right,
thinking about
let's see
the
what they
the
have to
carnivore
say.
thing for a while.
Oh, go ahead.
It's just there's I don't really have any trepidations about it. I just haven't looked into it. So I guess the only trepidation I have is just what people have said, that it's kind of like that Jordan Peterson looked fucked up after he did it for a while. That's mostly what I know about
Yeah.
it. And then also it just sounds crazy on its face. But other than that, I mean, I'm similar to you in that I like meat a lot, but I also really like carbs, so it's gonna be tough. Not that you probably didn't like them. It's probably tough to give them up, but
Well, is there anything that would be tough for you to give up that's good for you, or that is, I don't know, generally accepted as being good for you?
not really. I mean, things like carrots with my beef stew,
Yep, that's fair.
or
That wouldn't be that tough. I mean, I'd prefer to have them, but it's not like I'm like, oh man, I need these carrot. Potatoes are tough.
carrots are tough because I
Are
like
potatoes
my
good for you?
beefs. I don't know. I think in some quantities they might be. I mean, they're good in that they keep you alive with calories. But I
Yeah.
think the skins might have some nutrients in them. But for carrots, the way I make things is I like things to be sweet and hot at the same time. So I always add
Yeah.
like lots of like peppers and stuff and like black pepper and spices to my stews. I like them to be hot. And then the carrots are like super sweet and like soft by the time they're done cooking. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, it's like sweet heat. That's what my favorite thing is. So that's what the carrots kind of
Do you
bring.
ever just have you ever just like roasted some baby carrots in the oven with some salt on them? Dude, it's so good. Just because they're so sweet, but they're like salty and crisp on the outside and soft in the middle.
That sounds really good. I've never tried that. No.
I love it. You can kind of do the same thing with butternut squash, I think, if you like chop it up, but it's just more work to me.
Hmm.
But they have a really similar flavor to me.
Well, I can't do that anymore. I'm about to be a carnivore. So.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's watch this Joe Rogan thing. I don't even think there's not even that much to watch in this. I mean, we can just watch it and talk about it, but
You don't have the right to tell my 14-year-old daughter she has to carry her rapist baby. You
But
understand
to
that?
I don't think two wrongs make a right. I don't think
That's
murder.
not, you say that they have to carry that baby?
I don't think murder fixes a rape.
What if she just turned positive, just now?
Well, I just disagree that.
What
you
if it
can-
just happened
that
today?
You can like draw a line on when. I don't
At
think you
the
draw
very
lines.
moment. You shouldn't do that.
If it's preventing the pregnancy from.
No. You don't have the right to tell my 14-year-old daughter.
He didn't even want to look him in the eye when he was saying it. I guess he felt like Joe Rogan. I think when you have like it's one of those things where you can't really argue with. I think we have a friend that kind of does a similar type of thing sometimes, where it's very effective, but sometimes I just think that it kind of like makes it impossible to talk about now that it's kind of really highly emotional. But maybe it should be highly emotional because it is kind of an emotional thing. But yeah, anyways, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, first of all, I couldn't have this conversation with Joe Rogan and look at him in the face either. He's terrifying, and I feel like it's almost like he's attacking him and his family in that conversation by disagreeing with him.
Right.
But yeah, man, I think, well, first of all, I hate when the abortion debate gets caught up on those, what I would call it, like, on the fringe or the margins discussion.
Mm.
Like we could all agree, or not all, but I think most people would agree that a baby right before it's born and right after it's born, that's the same being, right? It's a person. Doesn't magically change just in the 5 minutes that it took to come out of the womb, right?
Right.
So to me, for the most part, if you just take that back, there's no real defining point that I think everybody could agree on where, okay, it's not a life. So I think most people would be okay to say, yes, abortion is killing somebody. Then you can have an honest conversation about, okay, well, when is it okay to kill that person, right? And I think once we all can acknowledge that, then we can have this discussion about, okay, well, this is a person who obviously should not be having a kid, and it's not their fault that this is happening to them. It's going to be devastating. Even if they give it up right afterwards, it's still a devastating thing that they're going to have to go through. So to tell them that they would have to do that is a conversation I don't know if I'm ready for, but I definitely still think it's wrong to kill that baby. Does that make sense at all? Did I even make a point?
I think you made a point. I think the main point, I guess, is that you have to kind of come to an agreement on some things first. Like, if you can't even agree that it's a human life right up until the point of birth, or I guess right before the point of birth, then maybe you really have no.
Right.
You really can't go. You really can't talk to anybody or debate anybody. I'm not even saying they're wrong for not meeting you at that halfway point. If that's just like the way their logic works or the way I don't know, the way they've reasoned themselves into that position. Maybe they have good reasons to say it's not a human life right before the point of birth, but the point I'm trying to make is if you can't even agree on that point, then you really can't go any further. So I don't know if Joe Rogan even agrees on that point. I think I kind of vaguely remember him talking about some topics where I think he would have, because I know they talked about that one law. I can't remember what state it was now, but there was a state that was debating whether or not you could have like a post-birth abortion or something. I think the governor of that state was like for that, and then there was a little hearing, I think, where some Asian lady said it was okay or something. Anyways, but yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So yeah, some people won't even meet you halfway there, so you can't even start with them. But I think the majority of people would say that it happens at some point during the 9 months. It becomes a human, but then you just have to figure out like. You have to work backwards and figure out like what is the point in which we disagree, and then why? Why are you saying it's no longer a human at this point? But
Right. I've never heard a convincing argument that I didn't feel like was dismantled that wasn't it starts at conception, but I'd be open to having that discussion if someone felt like they could make a good argument. But I think it really it doesn't matter because that's not the discussion we're having here. I feel like we're having a discussion of does, a young child who gets raped, should they be obligated to to carry that full term? And fortunately, I think we're getting close to where they wouldn't have to make that decision. I think we're pretty close to getting to the point where they can say, okay, well, we're going to just grow this baby outside the womb. And at that point, abortion shouldn't even be on the table anymore.
At least it wouldn't be as much of an argument when it gets to the point where that surgery is as invasive or less invasive than an abortion would
Right.
be.
Exactly.
Because up until that point, they'll be kicking and screaming, I think. And I think
Yeah,
to some
but-
degree rightfully, because I think on its face it is hard to swallow. Like making a
Yeah.
child have a baby, that's a hard pill to swallow.
No, I agree. I don't think I would ever support. Well, I don't know. I don't think I would ever argue and try to enforce if I ever had in this hypothetical scenario where I have the power to do that, that you would have to carry that baby full term.
Hmm.
Maybe I would. I mean, I think it's a life, and so it's hard for me to justify. Hey, what is worth killing this baby for? You know what I mean?
Right.
Even if it were my kid, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to put myself in the scenario, but I can't put myself in the position of being traumatized in that way, if that makes sense. Because it's not the unexpected pregnancy that you didn't want that would be difficult to me. Because if that happened, I would just, that's my grandchild now, in my mind. It's something to be celebrated. But then it's the trauma part that makes it horrible, and it's just a memory of that trauma every single day.
Yeah, exactly.
That's something I can't really put myself in that position.
And that's why I don't know what clever editing happened in this video or if this was just how the argument actually played out. But that this guy has stood no chance.
Yeah.
Was whatever was being said was way too highly charged by that point. So
Well, that's why the argument to me anyway, if you're pro-life arguing against pro-choice, the argument can't be about that. Like let's settle the argument without those types of scenarios.
Mhm.
It's two different arguments, and I feel like I don't know who does it. I feel like it has to be the pro-choice people that lump it in. Oh, so you're saying that someone who's going to die during childbirth or someone who got raped has to have this baby? It's like, okay, well, let's table that discussion and address
The
the large
95% of
majority of the
other
abortions.
cases.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I think I'm in the same boat as you. It'd be, I think, more productive to discuss the other scenarios that vastly outnumber the rape scenarios. But I
Right.
think if you do that, then it takes a lot of their ammunition away from their argument. So it's kind of they're not really willing to
Yeah.
have that discussion a lot of the times. But this whole thing's one of those things where I can't even really talk about it with people because I don't even know where I sit on it. Like I feel like my gut instinct is that you shouldn't be able to kill a baby, but I think my gut instinct
Right.
gets really weak the further back in the pregnancy you go. Like at the point of conception, it's like I don't even know if you're causing any amount of human suffering by just taking a what's it called again? The pill, like the day after pill or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I don't know,
Plan B or whatever.
right, but I think you could argue like objectively you're killing a human because at that point they have like their own DNA and everything.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where it's like I only know that like logically in my head, but I don't have like a strong emotional reaction to that like I would if it was like a 6-month abortion or something or a 7th month.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the difference between kind of like my emotional side and my more logical side, I guess. Because I know
Well,
that.
and at that point,
Yeah.
you don't even know.
Mhm.
I think that's what makes the difference in how you feel about it. If you do the plan B, you don't even know that you were even pregnant,
Right.
right?
Yeah. True.
So it doesn't make it right if you were pregnant, but it's hard to just be wrong about it.
Well, I think we covered those pretty well. There wasn't much to say on the Rogan thing. I just thought it was kind of interesting because of how emotionally charged that clip was. So
Did you have some bookmarks you wanted to share?
yeah, let's go into that. Let's go into Tyler's bookmark corner because some of these were kind of funny.
This is like my favorite part.
And don't worry, guys. I think
Oh, and then
next week we'll have more specific things to talk about. I feel like this week we kind of had a vague idea that we both wanted to get more educated on Israel, and only one of us accomplished that task. But I think next week I'll be a little bit more clear in the exact, because I think one of the benefits of us having videos to react to or something like that is just that it gives us a chance to put what we've learned during the week or research during the week into action by arguing against something somebody said or something like that. So I think I'll try to have something a little more specific to react to and to put like our newfound knowledge to the test on. But yeah, I think that's all we got as far as that kind of content. Let's move on to the bookmarks. 'Cause some of these were actually funny.
Well, and I don't want to mess up your flow here, but did you want to
Yeah, go for it.
watch that iDubbbz thing, or how long is that?
Yeah, it's pretty long. We could start like a little bit of
okay.
that. We'll make that a separate thing from this podcast, I think.
Okay.
But yeah, we should just do a whole video, maybe half of it today and maybe half of it next week or something. Or depends on how long you want to stay. But I think it's like over an hour. So
Oh, yeah, we might need to break it up into something smaller then, because unless you'd rather not watch some episodes, but I'm dying to see what happens next in Mushoku.
okay, yeah, all right, man. Let's get onto these bookmarks and we'll move on. We'll discuss that later. All right, here's the first one. They've made a bunch of these. Have you seen any of
I
them?
was hoping you were going to play this one.
Have you seen it?
I've only seen like one comparison or one people complaining about her, but no, I haven't seen any of these.
Okay, so do you even know what they're doing here? Have you?
Nope.
You see? Okay. All right. Here you go.
I only know they were complaining about her being Snow White compared to
Okay.
the Queen.
This is a specific meme format that I think maybe this one guy's been doing, but you'll see as soon as
Okay.
you hear it. I gotta stop explaining it because it's funny.
I kindly want
Here we go. Let me share screen.
something other to eat.
Well, what would you like?
You got any biscuits for sale in there?
Well, no, this here's a frosty cream. We don't.
Have you seen Sling Blade?
Nope.
Shit. Okay, maybe this won't be as funny for you, but you know you see they're using AI to
Don't serve
it's so-
biscuits.
So funny.
We got a lot of other stuff though.
What you got in there is good to eat.
Well,
Yeah, it's not gonna be as funny since you haven't seen it, but it is funny. You can see what they're going for. Let me show you this other one because
Yeah.
you see Waterboy, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you or at least know who Adam Sandler is.
That's a good question. What happens is the center has the ball first, and quarterback will say hike. That's when the center puts the ball into the hands of the quarterback. So what I'll do is I'll start tackling the quarterback unless he give the ball to somebody else, in which case I'll try to tackle that person.
Those are so
How
funny
are
to
they
me.
so good, man? It's crazy.
I think it's all AI doing it at this point. But thinking about putting those together is really
That's
funny.
even crazier.
I know. I already showed you that clip. That was a pretty good clip.
What was it?
This
Show me again. I don't remember it.
this one.
What you listening to, son?
If you hold a gun, and I hold a gun, we can talk about the law. If you hold a knife, and I hold a knife, we can talk about rules. If you come empty-handed, and I come empty-handed, we can talk about reason. But if you have a gun, and I only have a knife, then the truth lies in your hands.
You can watch the rest of that quote if you want later, but yeah, I really like that whole quote. I think it eloquently
that-
makes a point that I try to make a lot, and I don't say it like that.
Were they making a point about anything specific? 'Cause
Not
in
that
my
I know
mind,
of.
I come to Israel, but maybe that's just because we were just talking about it.
I don't know specifically, but I think this applies to basically every power struggle that's ever existed.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think it especially applies to Palestine. This we can't even watch because it's too bad. I can't even put that on YouTube. Let's see. No, that's just silly. You have to watch the iDub stuff first before we can go into that.
Okay.
This was pretty interesting by Nick Fuentes. I think you might enjoy this whole thing because this is probably the closest you get to two people who kind of... God, I would get ripped apart if I even said this, but I feel like these two at least know some stuff. I mean, Destiny has to look up stuff all the time and ask chat for help, and Fuentes seems to be more of like just a dictionary of information, but dictionary of information.
Yeah.
Encyclopedia is the word I was looking for. Dictionary is not.
Yep. That's way better.
Way better.
What does Israel do for us specifically?
Specifically, I wouldn't be able to say what Iraq does for
So
us
you don't
specifically
know.
either.
No, I don't know.
So you have no
100%.
idea.
I don't know.
Okay,
Well, the answer is
Yeah, tell us.
nothing. We give them $3.8 billion per year in aid. That's in addition to all kinds of other special provision. Israel's the only country in the world that they don't have to spend all the foreign aid money they get on the American defense industry. They can spend it on their own defense industry. Only country that gets that sweetheart deal. In addition, we have a special part of the aid that we give Israel that we give it all in a lump sum at the beginning of the year, as opposed to giving it over the course of the year. We give it to them as a lump sum, and what they do with the money is they actually buy our American Treasury notes so they can make interest. Isn't that beautiful? The other thing is this. We give it to them as a loan, which is important. If we gave it to them as a grant, we would have to monitor how they spend it. Well, they don't need that kind of scrutiny on what they spend it on, so they accept it as a loan, but we forgive the loan. So there's no scrutiny, but we also don't collect it back. There's also no interest. And there's actually no tangible benefit that we derive from them. In fact, it's the opposite. What?
This whole discussion was really fun to watch. You might have to watch that someday.
Was it really good?
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of like, highly charged, like back and forth stuff, but I mean, there's a lot of good information, I feel like. And I feel like if Fuentes is such an idiot and he doesn't know what he's talking about, then people should easily be able to counter like what he's saying. But I feel like I don't think Destiny. He had some good points during the discussion, but I think you'd have to watch it and decide for yourself how you felt about it. But
yeah, I definitely want to now because I like listening to both of them sometimes until Destiny just starts. Well, I've never listened to Nick except for when you showed him to me, but I like what I've seen.
yeah, this kind of
I
popped
feel like
off.
he
I
adds
think
value to a debate.
Right, I think so too. This is kind
Destiny
of
does until he gets into debate mode and.
Exactly. He's just
wants
trying
to
going for the win. Yeah. This clip right here is part of a discussion that is kind of like the first thing on Israel I ever watched, so that's might be even why I started out like biased. But I think at the end of the day, I feel like at this point I've been pretty objective. I've been trying to like listen to the best of both sides, and there's just
So that's older.
maybe a year or two old. But I haven't really cared about Israel except for the last maybe a year and a half or so. So.
Yeah, that's fair.
Let's see.
I dropped a damn piece of sausage on the ground
Oh, this is pretty funny. We don't have to watch the whole thing because you'll get the point, but it's really funny.
and waited for some fucking ant to find it. It saw that big-ass chunk of sausage, got all excited, and ran the fuck off to report. While that little shit was off calling for backup, I snatched the sausage and swapped in a fucking rock. The ant squad showed the hell up only to find no sausage, just a useless-ass stone they couldn't chew. Bet they tore into that poor bastard scout for wasting their damn time. Once all the ants fucked off, I took away the rock and put the sausage back. That same scout came crawling back, checked it out, saw it really was sausage, and rushed off again to report like a dumbass. Soon as he left, I swapped the sausage with the rock again. The whole damn army rolled back in only to get fucked over again. After they stormed off pissed, I switched the rock out for sausage one more time. That poor scout, probably still getting shit from the last round, came back, saw the sausage again, and angrily ran off to report like he's got something to prove. This time the ant army charged back in, and surprise, still just a fucking rock.
Oh, it's so funny.
Oh, is that how it ends? He just does it?
Oh, let me see. I don't know. I didn't finish it.
That poor bastard scout's probably getting his ass kicked right about now.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, I just was. Oh, that's funny. That's so funny.
Let's see what this is. I don't even remember. I think it's funnier when I don't remember what the fuck they are.
What are you, retarded? So I know you're not retarded. But, what are you, Down syndrome?
I love Norm Macdonald. He's just so funny. He's the best at everything.
Oh, is that the whole clip?
I think this whole thing's funny. All of the episodes of his podcast are funny. There's not even very many of them.
Yes.
I think that's what makes it even better. Have you seen them, Marty?
I haven't seen all of them, but I've seen a few.
Okay, yeah, it's so funny. But, anyways.
No, I need to start watching him more.
We're gonna be back next week with some more stuff, guys. We're only gonna get better at this shit, you know. We're learning. Yeah, exactly. Hopefully, but yeah, see you guys next week. Later.